Hi, I am Zoe with Paranormal Extraction and welcome to my show. Today we have on, I'm just so excited about this. I'm excited every week, but guess what? I'm super excited about this one because we have well-known John Russell on today. Now he's an award-winning author. I'm not kidding. 6 awards for his books. Now, can I tell you the names and the titles of all these? Absolutely not. But he's a psychic researcher. He does all psychic stuff. He does paranormal. He does supernatural. He does it all. So let's go and meet John Russell and have a fabulous interview. Hey, John. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on my show. It's an absolute pleasure. And I'm just enamored by everything that you've done. And so, why don't you tell everybody about the title of your books? Because obviously, I couldn't. There's too many names and too long. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
I will do that, Zoe. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank
It's a
you.
blast to be here. Really looking forward to this. I'll tell you about my first book, kind of how that came about a little bit. I shot a TV pilot for the History Channel.
Oh, you
And
did?
I did, and unfortunately it never aired, but my producer and I remained friends, and we kept working on projects together, trying to work on new TV projects together. And he
Well, you
said,
didn't tell me that.
yeah, I know, right? So there's so much. There's just so much that I've experienced and done. But we kept working on things, and he said, "Listen, why don't you write a little blog online and just put snippets of some of your experiences? Because I've had over 1,000 paranormal experiences, way over 1,000." And he said, "Write up some of those, and when we're approaching TV producers, we can refer them to the blog. They can kind of get an idea of some things." And I said, "Okay." And I'm a biker. I've been a biker since I was 15. I was on my current bike. I have almost 114,000 miles, so a lot of riding. And while I was riding, I began to have these really incredible, even for me, incredible over the top paranormal experiences that related either to my riding or to the destinations that I rode to. And I began to write little snippets of those down. But as it went on, I realized, I said, these experiences are so meaningful and so incredible that I've got to write down the entire experience, not just a snippet of it, but everything that I experienced, what I learned from it, what other people can learn from it. And then I've got to collect these together, and this has to become a book. So that was my first book, Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and the Spirits of the Dead.
Yeah, that's the
And
first one.
then I went to my second book, which is A Knock in the Attic. And without giving too much of the insides of the book away, the stories in the book away, that title is in particularly relevant to this book because that references a paranormal experience that the entire family had in the house with a particular ghostly knocking in the attic. So that was my second book, A Knock in the Attic. And then I'm working on my third book, which hopefully will be out in a few months. And that's 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. And what it's going to do is each chapter will take one specific psychic technique, like the first chapter is on psychometry. It defines it, tells you what it is, and it takes you by the hand, step by step. If you don't know anything about anything psychic or paranormal, this is going to teach you step by step how to learn to do psychometry, how to practice it and get good at it, and then the real world application of it.
Well, I just love that because you're also not just writing a book, okay? You're helping people,
Yeah, yeah.
and on this third book, you're going to be teaching them something that's very important to you, and also I feel is important for the general public that are interested in this type of um, uh, what is it? The psychic becoming more psychic? Is that what it's about? And learning
Becoming
about
more
that?
psychic, enhancing your intuitive abilities, and then,
Amazing.
using that in the real world to help yourself out, to protect yourself, to
Sure.
prosper, to grow, to be more creative, whatever it is you're desiring to do. And that was the big thrill in this third book was it is a teaching book, and it's what I wanted to do was take everything and simplify because there's so many people in the spiritual, psychic, paranormal community that make everything way more complicated than it
Oh
has to
my
be.
God.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, John, you know what? Been there, done that.
yeah,
Over it.
yeah. And so that's what I did in this book was say, okay, if you want to learn a particular technique, here it is, and cut and dry it, easy peasy. Here's how to do it. Practice it, get good at it, and go out and use it in the real world. So I demystified everything, and I took all the gobbledygook away from everything, and streamlined it and simplified it. And so I did that for 20 different techniques through the book. There'll be 20 chapters altogether. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, that's just absolutely wonderful. Now, I know you're on Amazon.
Yeah.
I just looked up your name, John Russell. Well, I know a lot more than just Amazon. And it's these other two are bestsellers already.
Yeah, my first book and my second book have been bestsellers in Amazon and category. And then my first book has won 3 awards. The second book has won 4 awards now. Two of those share the same type of award. But the first book, Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, won a bronze medal in an international book competition. And then A Knock in the Attic took first place in 2022 in an international competition and won its category. So, and there were no places in that. You either won the category or you didn't, and it won the category. So I was really thrilled with that, really happy with that.
Well, I got to tell you, out of all the people that I've interviewed, no one has had that. You're the first.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's a great feeling to win those awards and to know that your work is validated and appreciated and contributes something. And then both of the books have a lot of really good, really complimentary reviews, not only from readers but editorial reviews as well. And so I'm having a lot of success with the books, and it's a privilege and a pleasure that I never dreamed of when I wrote them, and
Right.
just happy to keep doing it.
Right. So let's talk. How would you like to start this? Would you like to? Let's talk about your passion. I mean, obviously, it sounds like all of it's your passion.
Yeah,
But if you want to start off with one of your books and discuss that, or however you want this to go, you're the boss, not me.
yeah. I'm at the helm. Okay, all
Okay.
right. Well, I think the main passion that I have is with the psychic readings that I do for people. I'm very passionate about my writing, and I love to write. I've written most of my life. But my real passion, my real focus is the psychic readings I do for people. I've read professionally for over 50 years now.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
I started.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started when I was 15, reading for friends and family, and then by 18, I turned professional. I'm 69 in a few months, so for over 50 years, I've been reading professionally. And the amazing thing to me, it boggles my mind every time I say it. I've read for clients in over 40 countries.
Oh my
And that's
God.
just, yeah, that just freaks me out. It blows my mind. And
Well,
it's just been an incredible journey. I've helped so many people. I've learned so much along the way, and I've taught so much along the way. And I've helped people so much along the way with my readings, with my insights, with my predictions for them. And there's just a jillion good stories I can tell you that come out of those readings over the years.
yeah. So they can contact you on Facebook, John Russell.
Easiest way is just to go to my website, which is johnrussell.net.
Oh, that's
And
easy.
yeah, johnrussell.net. And there you can find all the information about me you desire. You can
Sure.
schedule a reading. There's links for my books, tons of information
Oh
there.
yeah,
So
I did go there.
johnrussell.net's the easy one, yeah.
Yeah, I did go there. Yeah, and there's a lot on there. So, okay, so your passion is doing psychic readings. Let's talk a little bit about your books. Now, I know that there's so much content to speak about, and we're not going to have
Yeah.
3 hours to
I hear you.
to speak about it. So, why don't you go ahead and start with whichever book that you want to have some discussions on.
I think the first book I tell everybody to start there, writing with ghost angels and the spirits of the dead, because that's my first published book, which means the world to me. And the experiences are just so meaningful to me, not only as a psychic, but as a biker and as a writer. And it just, it's just kind of, that was like, holy cow. When I got that published, I got that done, because it's hard to write a book. It's difficult to write a book.
I've written
And
2 of them. I've written 2. I know.
it's hard. Being an
Yeah,
author is difficult. Being an author is hard.
it's
And
hard.
I was so thrilled to get this book out, to have the response that all the books have had. But this book, there's just so many amazing things that I experienced as a result of my rides, and I think that the thing that is emphasized to me, and that I tried to emphasize in this book, is the fact that the spiritual realm is so real, and that it surrounds us constantly. And that if we will open up our eyes, open up our ears, if we'll look, if we'll listen, if we'll be receptive, we can interact with this realm that in a lot of cases can literally save our lives. And one of the greatest stories in this book, in writing with ghost angels and spirits of the dead, was I had taken a day off from work, scheduled myself a day off, and I was riding on one of the interstates here in Florida. And I always tell people jokingly, I say, in Florida, there are 3 speeds on the interstate. The right lane, which is supposed to be 70 miles an hour, people go 80, 85. The middle lane, people go 90 plus. The left
What?
lane is where people imagine they're training for the Daytona 500. You just stay out of there if you want to stay alive.
Oh my God.
So I'm riding along in the right lane, and I'm holding it to 70 that day, because I've got the day off. It's a beautiful day. I'm looking at the countryside. I'm just geezering along at 70, and I'm happy, and I don't want to go any faster. Now, I've been riding since I was 15. I'm a very skilled biker. I've got really good high-speed riding skills, but I'm not wanting to ride fast that day. I'm just going to take it easy and enjoy the day. I've got the whole day off, so I'm going to ride all day. So I'm tooling along there, and my guys that I collectively call everybody on the other side, the entities, the guardian angels, the spirit guides, and everybody that's around me, I collectively and affectionately call them my guys. So my
Cool.
guys all of a sudden speak to me audibly in my head and
Sure.
say, move into the far left lane. Now, it's going to take a lot longer to explain this to you than it actually happens. All this happens in a split second time. But
Yeah.
they said, move into the far left lane. And all these years of communicating with these intelligences and having my life saved, having my life guided, being a blessing to others, I still argue every now and then. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, I don't want to go in the far left lane. I'm going to have to ride like crazy to get over there through this traffic. I'm having a good time here. I just want to relax and enjoy the countryside and enjoy the ride and the feeling. And this time they go, John, move into the far left lane now. So I'm like, okay. So I'm wrestling the beast around, upshifting, downshifting, throttle on, throttle off, brake off, weaving through traffic, and I get over there in the left lane, and I'm like, okay, what was all that about? And as I said that, in the right lane where I had just been, I don't know if somebody hit the car or this guy hit a car, but he spun around the wrong way on the interstate in the right lane. The detritus from the wreck was blowing across the road like shrapnel, hubcap, pieces of bumper,
Oh
and I'm
my.
dodging all of that now. And it dawned on me that was exactly where I would have been when whatever happened. And I would have hit this guy at 70 miles an hour with my motorcycle. No telling how many people would have hit me before they got stopped, and I wouldn't be here to tell you this story.
Well,
So,
I mean, that's absolutely. And I know what you mean about fighting with your boys. Okay, it'd be
yeah,
my spirit guides or whatever, and going out for just to relax. It's like the
yeah.
last thing you want to hear are their voices. It's like, can you just leave me alone? Just please leave me alone right now,
Let
because
me do
I.
my own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been in similar situations as this experience that you've had,
Yeah.
and then yes, you do it, and then you find out Oh my God.
Saved my
Okay.
life.
Yeah, saved your
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's one thing that has happened. So let's move on from that. Thank God you're alive. We're happy.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, just there's just so many wonderful things like that that I experienced, and then I would be led to ride to certain places on the bike, and then when I did, all these incredible experiences would happen when I got there. These great paranormal experiences for me to learn from, to write about, and I went to I went to sleep one night. And in my dream, I'm riding my motorcycle. And I write about this in the book. And it's just such a great feeling. It's a lucid dream, and I can actually feel myself on the bike. And it's just so great. And I said to myself in the dream, I realize I'm having a lucid dream. I said, well, I'm not going to control this. It's such a great dream. I'm just going to see where it leads me.
Sure.
So all of a sudden, I'm riding the motorcycle out on this basically deserted country road, little 2-lane road, like a lot we have here in Florida. And I look over on the right hand side of the road, and there's a road sign, a city limit sign. And it seems like I need to pay particular attention to this sign. So I said, okay. So I slow down my bike in the dream, and I stop and I read the sign. The sign reads banana. And in my dream, I'm thinking to myself, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Banana, Florida. How cliche can you get? If I wrote this in a book, the editor would strike it out. So I'm sitting there going, guys, this is crazy. This is nuts. You have me slow down to look at a road sign that says banana. Come on. So I start the bike back up in my dream. I'm riding up the road, and just a little ways up the road, over on the right hand side, there's a cemetery. And I stop and I look at the tombstones, and there's these old tombstones, and they're going way back 1800s and so on and so forth.
I love
And some of
those.
them are so weathered that they're nearly, indecipherable. And I'm like, well, what in the world is this? And I go on up the road then after the cemetery, and I meet with this friend of mine, and I'm thinking in the dream to myself, here apparently is a town that has ceased to exist, even in its own dream, in this dream it's giving me, because the town is gone. There's nothing left of the town. And then I wake up. So when I wake up the next morning, I tell my wife about the dream. I said, wouldn't it be crazy if there's a place called Banana, Florida? She said, you know what the chances of that are? She said, that's slim to none, right? I said, well, I'm going to go look. So I hop
Yeah,
on bed,
good.
went across the house to my office. I get on the computer, Google it, and guess what pops up?
We
Banana.
know. Are
I'm
you
like, oh
kidding?
my God. So I told her, I said, I'm going right now. So I hop on the
That's
bike.
great.
Yeah. I hop on the bike, and the present day town, the present day location is Melrose. So it's like an hour and a half away, which is a hop, skip, and a jump for me on the bike, because I'm used to riding 400 to 500 miles a day. And so I get on the bike and I head over there, and I know I'm supposed to go there, but when I get there, I'm kind of like hunting around for, okay, why am I here? What's the thing?
Sure.
And so finally, my psychic gift directs me to this one road, and I turn down this road, and it's a little 2-lane kind of backcountry road going out into the country. And over on the right hand side, as in my dream, there's this cemetery. And so I pull
Awesome.
into the parking lot for the cemetery, and there's what do you call those? The signs, the historical marker. There's a historical marker
Oh,
in front of the cemetery, and I pull up to read it, and it says, this marks the location of the farming community of Banana, Florida. And
wow.
I'm like, oh my God. And
Right.
then I look out into the cemetery, and I go out into the cemetery, and there's these old tombstones going
Uh-huh.
back to 1800s, just exactly like in my dream.
Wow.
So, yeah, so somebody with that knowledge communicated that to me in my dream for a specific reason. And then I've had a couple of a return visit there, and met some people that I was able to talk to and kind of get some feedback from them, enlighten them about some spiritual issues and things. And it's like an ongoing, like this banana thing is like an ongoing thing. And I haven't made it back there again yet because I've been so busy, but I've got to go again. It's like this recurring theme that keeps coming up. And every time I learn more from it, and I'm able to teach people more from it.
Right.
But
So when
yeah,
you went there, what did you find, or what exactly did you do
well, for one
spiritually?
thing, it was just validation that it was real, that everything that I saw in my dream was a reality. And then I began to think about, okay, who called me there and why? Was it,
Exactly.
maybe some spirit, some person that used to live there, and it was like, hey, don't forget us, because the farming community is no longer there, and the cemetery is well cared for. But I mean, there's some little markers in the cemetery that are about the size of a brick,
Wow.
and it says known only to God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they don't even know who's buried there in these places. And it was like so poignant. And I got to really, really tearing at my heartstrings about this, the whole life and death thing and the need to communicate that we do live on. And I think that's one of the greatest feelings, messages I got out of this is that, hey, people on the other side call back to us and say, don't forget us, make our stories known and let people know that we continue to live on, that we don't just die and that's it, that we have a reason for living and there is an afterlife and we have to be held accountable to that.
Right. So they wanted to be acknowledged,
Yeah.
what you did. I had a similar experience in a very old cemetery when I did the Travel Channel. Well, it was very, very strange because when I went in, there was a big apparition behind me, which I
Mm-hmm.
later found out actually was a famous person at that time and had died in this
Wow.
fire a bit. And he's following me around from the back, and I was like, when I go in there, I always do it spiritually. I always leave a
Yeah.
gift. I gift it, and then I walk
Mm-hmm.
in, and I never walk on the graves.
Yeah.
So I'm very respectful and just very intuitive. I felt this. And then I'm like, okay, what is it that you need me to do? And he said, I need to escort you out of the cemetery. He says,
Oh,
it's
wow.
nothing against you. But he was
Mm-hmm.
talking in a very different voice from like the 1800s or something
Mm-hmm.
and dressed like that. And I said, okay, that's fine. And he told me, we are very tired of people coming in here, the paranormal investigators,
Yeah.
and desecrating our graves, walking over them, leaving stupid money and doing the
Yeah.
things that they want. And we want to be quiet. And I said,
Yeah.
I respect that. And
Yeah.
so he
Absolutely.
led me all the way out. He waited at a certain
Mm-hmm.
point, watched me walk, and to get out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a really cool experience. So, I
That's
know
incredible. That's
it's more
incredible.
spiritual, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're not talking about, oh my God, I went into the cemetery and I got so
Yeah. Yeah.
scared and this guy popped out and this and that. What
Right.
you're talking
Right.
about is more of a spiritual side and respect.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I think is missing in so much of the so-called paranormal investigations today is people don't respect property, they don't respect memories, they don't respect the spirits that are there. And we have to realize that when we're dealing with the spiritual realm, we're dealing with entities, whether it's a spirit guide, whether it's a guardian angel, whether it's a spirit of a deceased person, whether it's some type of intelligence, some type of being that we don't even know what is. We have to realize that we are dealing with intelligent beings, sentient beings, and in many cases, beings with emotions, feelings, um, purposes, and they need to be dealt with honor and with respect. And if we will go to a location and ask permission of that location and ask
Thank
permission of the
you.
entities that are there,
Thank
yeah,
you. That's
and then be
very
very
important.
respectful to the spirits that are there and say, hey, I would like to communicate with you to learn something about who you are and what you might have to tell us or tell me, and in any way help me. And is there any way that I can help you or be of benefit to you? I think it's like a two-way street. And never ever challenge or curse or belittle the spirits. That's one of the worst things that you can do You wouldn't go up to somebody's house, knock on the door, and start yelling and curse at them to come out and show themselves or whatever. So why do we think that's an effective method when we do go to research a place or investigate a place? It's just ridiculous.
Right now.
Okay, so we're talking about belittling the spirits. Now, that's when they come in and they run around and they use all their equipment and,
Yeah.
they do it at night. I mean, you don't need to do this stuff at night, okay?
Oh,
You,
absolutely not.
you,
Absolutely not.
so you and I are on the total same page here.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is what I personally believe in. And I would love the fact that you're giving you are getting the word out by your book by letting people know the importance of this.
Yeah, of respect and, honest communication with the other side. And, and it irks me when a lot of these people, they challenge the spirits that are there or ask them for a sign, and then they get it and then they scream and run like little girls. It's like, that's what you're there for. Why are you screaming and running? I've never understood that. But you and I both know, I mean, we talked pre-interview way back when we did the show here, and you and I both know that in a lot of these cases, a lot of these shows, they're told to manufacture emotions, to scream, to cry, to yell, to run out of a room, to overact, to act like they've seen something when they haven't. So there's a tremendous amount of fakery in these shows.
I absolutely know about that, and I've spoken about it. I'm not going to get into it, but basically, I wanted to be who I was, which is like you, okay, the beliefs. But they made me look like a fool, okay?
Exactly.
They changed it to make it look scary. And boy, I'll tell you what, if that contract isn't solid, you're going to get whatever they decide.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So
people don't realize that these shows are made for entertainment and that they're not a real representation of interaction with the spiritual realm.
That is true.
In all my interactions with the spiritual realm, it's been overwhelmingly positive, overwhelmingly protective, overwhelmingly good, overwhelmingly enlightening. I mean, my guys on the other side have saved my life many times.
Wow.
Not just a dramatic incident on the motorcycle, but many times. And so that is the message that I try and convey through my books, through my interviews, and everything else. And even with my clients is that, look, this is something that lives on this planet invisibly most of the time, but is here with us all the time, has as much right to be here as we do, is not malevolent, demonic, evil, or whatever, but exists in this plane, and we can interact with this in a respectful way and make our lives better, make other people's lives better, and make the planet better.
Yeah.
And that should be our aim and our goal and our understanding of all of this. But too many people either try and profit from it, or try and get some measure of fame from it, or take it to the far reaches of entertainment and that type of thing. And that's not what it is at all. So that's kind of one of my pet peeves with this. I'm in line with you with that in regard to that. So
oh my God. I mean, we could go on forever about that. So okay, so these two things are just absolutely fantastic. The motorcycle and then the banana and all this stuff.
Right.
Okay, that's all in your first book. Is there any experiences that you can say where you were just, let's go with the scary part, that you were just absolutely kind of blown away? Have you ever been fearful of an incident that you've been in?
Never.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, never.
Wow.
I've had way over 1,000 paranormal experiences, and I have to classify, I have to explain, categorize what I mean by paranormal experiences. These are things that have occurred literally, physically, on the physical realm. A lot of times they've been witnessed by other people. We've sometimes videotaped them, audio, recorded them, taken photographs, video. So these are real experiences. These are real things, real interactions with the other side. And I've never had anything that frightened me. I've never had anything that scared me or made me feel uneasy. There's been wonderfully astonishing things, but nothing where I was ever felt
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. You're the first.
yeah.
You're the first. I mean, I've had some people discuss it, but it was just kind of, because I don't get anyone on here that's on a paranormal show. Hello. Where I've had, people say, like one famous guy I interviewed, he said, well, I did notice, this, and then it was kind of like he knew what to do right after that to let it go. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like this big story.
Right, right.
So you're actually the first person I've spoken to that's about that. So you, we kind of covered your first book, right? So what led into that second book, and what's the title of the second book?
Second book is A Knock in the Attic. And what led into that second book, it's actually a prequel to Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead because it goes back to my childhood when my gift first developed and when all these paranormal experiences began. And then it's a chronological order of things on through my life as I come on up into adulthood, explaining how it was to grow up with this gift and to study psychology, parapsychology, the paranormal, the psychic realm, to see what was real, what wasn't, what worked, what didn't, how I
Yeah,
could make my psychic gift better and better and more accurate. And went up all the way through my adulthood up to the point where Writing the Ghost Angels and Spirits of the Dead actually takes off. And people have been kind of after me for a while to say, well, look, how was it? Explain how it was growing up. What did you experience? What did it feel like? So that was kind of the next logical step after I got Writing with Ghost out was
oh
to
yeah,
go back to my childhood, kind of do more of a biographical type of thing, an autobiographical type of thing that explained here's where it started, here's how old I was, here's what it felt like, here's my thought processes going through this, my interaction with my family, my friends, and so on and so forth, and then bring everything on up through my adulthood. So that was really the motivation for that was to kind of take it back to the origin story, if you will.
well, that's wonderful, because then people that have had these type of experiences, which I've talked to a lot about, um, they're scared to talk about it or tell
Yeah,
anyone,
yeah.
or even research it. They're scared. They think, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I get pictures all the time that of something, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I think this is
Yep,
wonderful because you are letting them know they're not nuts.
exactly. You'd be surprised how many times, Zoe, that I have gotten a call from a new client, and the first words they start the conversation with is, "If you can't help me, I'm checking myself into the nut house." Because they've been told all their lives that these things aren't real, aren't possible, don't exist, and then they have a physical experience with something paranormal, and they think I've gone crazy.
Right.
And so I'm able to say, no, you haven't gone crazy. You're just experiencing the reality of the other side. I'm able to allay their fears. I'm able to explain what's going on, how to react to it, how to deal with it, so on and so forth. And going back to, so many people being afraid of the paranormal experiences, I think that stems from a number of things. One thing, depending upon your religious upbringing, that's going to be your default mode
Oh my
of
God,
paranormal
that's
experience. Yeah,
huge.
yeah.
A
So
lot of a
if
lot of
you're raised in
guilt.
a staunch Christian
Yeah.
conservative atmosphere,
Hmm.
anything paranormal is going to default to it's the devil, it's satanic, it's demonic, it's malevolent, it's evil, don't do it. And likewise, any other religious upbringing. Another default mechanism that we have is, for some screwy reason, I think it derives from our religious upbringing, is that anything that paranormal that occurs has to be dangerous or evil or malevolent or whatever, and it's not. That's furthest from the truth. And then people automatically think that somehow it's going to hurt them or it's going to open up a portal to hell or it's going to attach themselves to them and they can't get rid of it or whatever. And I mean, none of that's the truth. And if people only realized, I always give the example to people. I say, look, as you and I sit here right now having this interview, and then our listeners down the road are listening to this in real time, when all of us are sitting here doing this, there are radio waves going through the air that we can't see.
Oh yeah.
We're surrounded by this constantly. But if you have the right receptacle, if you get a radio and plug it in and turn it on and tune it to the right station, oh, there's jazz, there's country, there's rock, whatever. But that's in the air all the time. We're just not hearing it.
Right.
Likewise, we have to understand that there are invisible beings all around us, all the time, everywhere, and that's the normal state of the world. And when we tune into that the right way, through whether it's through our particular gift, or we have a seance and create the right conditions, a prayer meeting and create the right conditions, we jump and sing and whatever we do to create the right environment, the right conditions for that communication to occur, we tune into that. It's like tuning a radio in, but it's always there. It's always around us. And I think that if people would realize that we don't just go through our lives blindly and then all of a sudden something jumps out and we're like, oh my God, that's not the exception, that's the rule. It's
Yeah.
around us all the time, it's around us constantly. And if we would just realize that, I think we could become a little more comfortable with it. And one of the greatest things, one of the greatest reviews I got was on my second book, A Knock in the Attic. And one of the greatest Amazon reviews I got was a lady wrote, said, thank you for writing this book, showing us that we don't have to be afraid
Yeah.
of the paranormal realm, that we can interact with that with safety and get helpful guidance and everything from it, that it's not something that we have to run around tiptoeing on eggshells in fear of.
Right. Well, this is just fantastic. I love that. However, have you run into any malevolent types of situations, or, infestation, oppression, full on possession? Have you run into any of these types of situations?
I have not.
Wow.
I have had, way over 1,000 paranormal experiences. I've done a lot of research and a lot of legitimate investigation, and I've never run into anything like that. I have encountered people that misinterpreted what they experienced and thought it was something malevolent or evil or demonic when it wasn't. I have had people, when I've been asked to investigate a situation, that I have subsequently found out they were on drugs and
Oh,
were having drug issues, or maybe
right.
they were alcoholic, or maybe they had some mental health issues, and they were either hallucinating or misconstruing things due to those circumstances. That doesn't explain everything, but a lot of times that was the case. And so I've never encountered that. No.
Wow, you're really lucky. I have.
Yeah.
Um, um, and I'm really into demon. For some reason, I get a lot of people that have or are in IOP. Okay, and the first rule that I tell them is no fear.
Right.
No fear whatsoever.
Right. Right.
So, and then of course they've got to travel down the road of more of what you're speaking about. So it's going to be really nice for me to lead them somewhere, like
Yeah.
to your book, so they can understand that, hey, wait a second, this isn't the devil. I'm not going to die. They
Exactly.
can read
Exactly.
through your book on some really positive experiences, which I love.
Yes.
So I'll be referring you, of course, and probably speaking about you on other shows too. That just like I like Preston Dennett with UFOs,
Right.
that I feel are ethical and done their research and are intelligent and know what they're doing. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So it's
appreciate
really,
that. I
really,
appreciate that.
really nice. So that's pretty much the second book. And then the third book is, you go into that in your second book. The third book is where you are teaching
Right. Right.
somebody how to become more
More
psych.
psychically aware and more able
Right.
to use their natural abilities. And people are always asking that, how can I develop to whatever degree it is that I can?
Exactly.
And how can I use these abilities to help myself? How do I learn that? How do I do that? And there's so many things out there, people love to put this fake premium on things and make you think that you have to be special and secretive and studied and it costs a lot of money and all this to do something. And that's a furthest thing from the truth. We're all born with these abilities to one degree to another. Now, some of us aren't going to develop as high as other people do, but we can develop to whatever ability that we have, that whatever we're capable of. And that was my goal in this book, was to show everybody, like I said, strip away the pretense, strip away the mysticism, the dogma, all this, and say, look, here it is. This is what it is. You want to learn how to do it here. And
Right.
then go and practice it and get good at it. It doesn't take the mystery of it.
So can they pre-order this, or they're just gonna, or what?
At this stage, I don't have a pre-order up yet, and but hopefully it'll be out within a couple of months, and then they can begin to get it at all major booksellers. All my books are available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, and Target, Walmart online. All the mom and pop booksellers online, they're available everywhere, so they can all get them there. And as soon as this becomes available, it'll be available at all of those outlets as well.
Yeah, well, the biggest, I think the best thing is just to go to your website, johnrussell.net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll have the announcement there when it comes out.
Yeah.
And of course, on my interviews and everything else, I'll also be announcing it when it's finally available to come out. So.
Wow. Well, I can see how you've won, all of these awards because,
thank you.
You're real.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And, I think people can see through that. They've seen through that. And what I love about the fact that you've done this is there's no one doing it. Kind of like me and doing this coffee talk situation, sitting here and not having you on one side, me on the other, and me having canned questions. It's something that people have looked at and gone, wow, this is different. This is something that isn't the norm. You were at the right place at the right time for this information to come forward. And it's just been a blessing because there isn't a lot of us out there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's, even ufologists, the UFO as research has become a cottage industry. It's like there's not any real information out there for us to hang our hats on. People are rehashing the same thing over and over and over. And it's like, there's just too much out there that somebody wrote a book, I read it, and I wrote about what he wrote. That's the way it comes across. Yeah. And it's like there's not a lot of originality out there, it seems.
Boy, especially like once they get famous, and they're canning out these books and they're coming out, and it's not like their first book. Okay. Right. They're just canning out information from other people's books. And it's a little bit of research. And, it's too bad because, they have this great book and then all of a sudden you read the next one and it's total bullshit.
Exactly. It's the same thing again and again and again. Exactly right. And that's what I tell people about the books I've written. It's like, look, these are my real life, honest to God, authentic experiences. This is not something I read about. This is not something I heard somebody else experience. These are experiences I have personally had in my life, and then I wrote them down, and I tell you what they taught me and what you can learn from this. And one of the greatest compliments I ever got was on my first book, Writing Ghosts, Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. And I have an editor friend that this was before this was published. And in the publishing industry, they will tell you when you're submitting a book to submit 3 comp titles. In other words, something this is you can compare it to or it's complementary to. And every editor and every agent will tell you there's no unique book, there's no unique story. It's all the same. Yeah. Don't tell me that you have something that nobody's ever read because it'll be similar to something out there.
Wow.
And so the editor that read Writing with Ghosts told me, he said, this is the most unique book I have ever seen. He said, there is nothing out there like this.
Completely.
So I was over the moon with that. It was so great.
Completely.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% because when I go out and I help people or do the paranormal work on the side, okay, it's, I don't use camera video, of course, but I don't do any of the paranormal stuff you see on TV at all, period. So, it's very different and unique. And a lot of the paranormal community, whoa, they don't like me. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they don't like what we're saying here.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
true. That's true.
they don't like, I'm certified, and I got all kinds of stuff behind me.
Right.
And they're just going, saying, well, we just went down to Walmart or wherever, and we bought some stuff, and we're going down to the graveyard this weekend. I can't tell you, after someone has said, oh, I've seen you on TV, I'm so into this, and then they tell me that, and I'm like, oh my God,
Oh my God.
please, please don't do this. I
I
don't,
know. I
I've,
know.
I've
Seriously.
learned to say, because I just learned to say, well, that's nice.
That's nice. Yeah. Good luck.
I just, because I don't want, it just isn't worth it anymore
Yeah.
to get,
Yeah.
upset with it.
And what
So,
people don't understand is that, and what I tell people all the time, it's like, look, you get a recorder and you get some EVP, some electronic voice phenomenon, and you've got a REM pod, and you say, if there's a spirit here, make the lights go out, or own rather, and they do, or whatever. It's like, okay, what you have to understand from that is you haven't received any communication, you've received a demonstration. And
yes.
if you're truly researching, what you have to do is not to say, anybody, oh, we found the spirit, we found this, we got, well, fine, but why is the spirit there? Who is the spirit? What is their purpose? What is their message? What are they
Yes.
trying to convey? Does that spirit hang around there? Is that spirit just popping in right then? Does it come and go? I mean, there's a jillion questions to be answered. You can't answer that just because the REM pod couldn't solve.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly. And
you've got a demonstration and not communication.
yeah, sometimes they just want to be noticed, and other
Yeah,
times they may need to pass through,
messages. Yeah, messages.
into another dimension because they're stuck. So yeah, so people are getting, not people, these spirits are getting stuck, and they need help crossing over. So I'm sure that, and that's what I do. I'm sure that's what you do too, and you explain about this. So we've got this plethora of amazing amount of information coming out of these three books
Yeah,
that are extremely different,
yeah,
and will show people the correct way and maybe their thought process on the whole thing. So, I mean,
exactly.
I just think this is absolutely fabulous. So, any last words on anything?
I think just the main thing, be respectful to the other side. Don't think you know it all. Nobody knows it all. I've done this professionally for 50 years, studied since I was 11, had all of these experiences, and it hadn't even scratched the surface. And I think we take things for granted, we get arrogant, we get self absorbed in our approach to the other side.
Yeah.
And that's what is hurting the research, and that's what's hurting, the true thing. And always be willing to make a change if somebody can come along with something better or a different idea or something that may work a little better. At least be receptive to it. Don't be so hidebound that okay, it has to be done this way, it has to be done this way. You got to have this piece of equipment. You got to go here at midnight. You got to, throw all that out the window. Like you said, and I agree with you. I've had some of the most phenomenal full-bodied manifestations from spirit in broad daylight in the sunshine.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
totally into. I
yeah,
do everything during the day, but it's
so
quite
there is
interesting. I
so
gotta.
much of this that we need to challenge, and get rid of this dogmatic
I
way of thinking.
know.
Yeah,
I know, and you're saying like not, being open or something like that. And I have a new partner in the paranormal because my shaman, a real one,
mm-hmm.
passed away. But
um,
yeah, he really likes to use some equipment, and I was very adamant, like, nah, nah, and now I really have to kind of step back and say,
yeah,
okay, and there's a reason for it, and there's spiritual reasons for it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I had to kind of change my real asshole stance on that. So
Sure,
I'm going to leave it
sure.
at that.
I hear you.
I'm
I
going to leave
hear
it
you.
at
Yeah.
that. So thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. You can come on anytime you want, any topic,
Oh, hey,
whatever.
thank you. It's been a blast being here. This has been great. I appreciate the opportunity so much.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you. So everybody out there, I just want to say, I really highly recommend going to johnrussell.net. And you can find him on Facebook too. All right. And you can always ask me questions and I can send you in the right direction. All right. So thank you so much for watching once again. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to share and like, please.